Hello, everyone, and welcome to. What was that? Uh,
Welcome.
yeah, no. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Wayward Dragons review episode.
Yeah,
This
this is where we talk
edition,
about
this entry. I
books,
don't. I don't know.
books we've read, stuff we've listened to, all that nice jazz. Yeah, so yeah, this is our review episode where we talk about all the stuff that we've watched, read, saw, um, in between the episodes. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Kelsey, and that's Johnny.
I am. I believe sometimes. Oh, you're gonna have so much editing to do on this episode.
eh, eh,
So, anyways, yeah. Hey, how have you been? What have you been up to?
I've been okay. I have a pretty bad migraine today. So we got that going. Um, but I mean, yeah, no, I'm doing pretty okay. We're starting to really pick up at my job. Puppy, what's bacon? Um, no, it's our garden's starting to really sprout. I'm starting to, all my little plants are starting to uh grow. My berry bushes are starting to bloom. So our cherry tree out front's starting to do its thing. So my garlic has a mind of its own. Especially if someone would stop peeing in it. Bubby.
I'm sorry. I just had to go.
Like every morning, peas in my garlic plants. But how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. No massive complaints about anything other than, just general miasma of life in the world.
Yeah, yeah. I feel that. I feel that.
Just living in my liminal space. That's about it. Working, reading. Yeah, I think that sums up my life. What have you been up to? Have you been reading anything interesting or fun?
I only read one, and I'm part of a indigenous book club on Fable. So the books are by indigenous authors. So the book for this past month was The Berry Pickers by Amanda Peters. The audiobook's pretty good. Um, I'm gonna say this before I begin. This is a complete work of fiction. This is not nonfiction. It really does read like nonfiction though. Um, because we as white people have done very horrible things to indigenous people all over. Um, so in the beginning, I thought this was nonfiction because of the storyline, not realizing when I got on Storygraph that it's complete fiction. Um, but it follows two people, Joe and Norma, and it follows them from a very young age up until way into adulthood. Joe's family is from Nova Scotia. They come down to Maine every year to be part of the berry picking of blueberries every year. Their dad is a supervisor at one of the farms down there. So every summer they all the kids would pack up and stuff, and at the age of, I want to say, 9, no, 6. At 6, he's out there picking berries because that's where it starts. Is he's 6 years old. And his 4-year-old sister Ruthie goes missing, and the cops kind of shrug them off in all this. And the next chapter is from a woman named Norma, and how do I word this? How she never really belongs in her family. Her mom is super strict growing up, like couldn't leave the yard, couldn't leave like the backyard, couldn't even go to the front yard type thing. Um and anytime that Norma would bring something up about, hey, like, this isn't right. This is why am I the number one question she keeps asking is, why do I get so much darker than you in the summer?
Hmm.
And they tell her, well, your grandfather's Italian and you just got that gene. Like, they give her a weird excuse for everything. And then, God love her. Oh, sorry for my dog here. Um, she's in middle school, high school, and she's like finding all these books on biology and stuff, and she reads about earlobes, like attached and detached earlobes. And like either she's got attached and they have attached or vice versa, but that's how she figures out she's adopted. Weirdly, it's through earlobes. Um but the story progresses and like the family, Joe's family deals with the grief of losing Ruthie and stuff. And Norma kind of navigates life with her mom because her and her mom don't have the best relationship and stuff. Her mom is very narcissist. There's a lot of gaslighting in here. Because every time she brings something up, like her mom will say that she has a headache and like just goes and lays down. Like, we're not going to talk about anything. Like, we're going to go lay down. Um, there's abuse, miscarriage, like there's some of that in there. You come to find out that I'm gonna spoil it for everybody. Um, Norma was kidnapped. Norma is Ruthie, and when Joe left Ruthie that day, she was sitting on a rock that she would normally sit on while they were all picking berries, eating a bologna sandwich. Norma's quote mom saw her 'cause she was on a drive due to like a mental break from her last miscarriage. Saw Ruthie on this rock, lured her to the car with some gum, kidnapped her, proceeded to brainwash her, and she finds all this out because her mom quote develops dementia and she can't keep the secrets anymore. So she starts saying things and then she starts going to her aunt like um what like why is she saying this? And she's like, I didn't want to be the one to tell you this, like all sorts of stuff. So you find out, you know, Norma is Ruthie, and then she goes and finds Joe, and they find them due to an article. One of her older siblings passes away in a fight and stuff. That's how they find them, and she reunites and stuff. And you really have to remember that this is a complete work of fiction. This isn't real.
But stuff like that has
I go, but
happened.
like,
That's
yeah,
that's
well,
the key
because
thing there is that
yeah, and she made it a point of writing about when Joe's siblings would come back from school because they were part of that um native school program where they would like go to the boarding schools. Um
you mean
she made a
the bullshit program where they literally beat out the culture
yeah,
and uh,
like
identity of an entire group of people.
yeah. Well, she makes a point of writing the mom of every time that they would come home, she would rush into the yard and hug them like super tight and be like, my kids came back, my kids came back, my kids came back. Like that was and I thought that was like an interesting thing to put in there of like, and that's why I thought it was real because I'm like, we did the school thing. Like we did that.
Mhm.
Like, so I'm like, oh, okay, well, this isn't far off from something that could have happened. And look on Storygraph, and it's a complete work of fiction. Um, I'm like, it's an amazing story of like family struggle, addiction, um, grief. It's it's written very well. The audiobook is about 9 hours. Um, so that one I gave it what 3.5 stars, I think. And then I started reading Dawn, um, by Octavia. I I forget her last name. Um, this is like I think it's a trilogy, honestly. Um, I reserved this book is on during February for Black History Month. Um, Octavia Butler. Um, I want to say it's a trilogy. Genesis. Yeah, it's a trilogy. Um, Basically, we as humans, we have caused the Earth to be a nuclear waste. We've caused nuclear war. And this race of humans has
Sounds
rescued
about right.
survivors. Huh?
I said that sounds about right.
Yeah. They've rescued this group of humans, and the aliens want to repopulate Earth. Problem. Basically sending these people back during the Stone Age, the equivalent of the Stone Age. But there's a trade involved. Um, this deals with a lot of consent. Because there's talk of genetically modifying the people and stuff like that. I normally don't read a post-apocalyptic type stuff. This is written very beautifully. Um, the the aliens are like a cross between like Medusa, like gray aliens, and Medusa and sea slugs. So it's a little weird, but it makes you think about consent, even in the smallest bit. Oh, Apollo has
Okay.
decided to grace us with his presence today. I ate all my food. Give me more, bitch. What have you been reading?
So, I read all 6 books in the How to Be Dead series by David Turner. The first 3 books were gifted to me, and then after I finished them, I immediately got the next 3 books. Oh boy, this series.
Yeah.
So, anyone who's a longtime listener or anyone who knows me knows that I am absolutely nuts for satirical fantasy. And
Yes, you are.
one of my favorite authors is Sir Terry Pratchett.
Yes.
Um, the this book series, it was described. I forget who the quote was actually by, but there was like one of the news companies or not, whatever people do the reviews,
Yeah.
described it as a mix between Sir Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, which I love both of.
Yes, you do.
Um, it was very much a mix between them and also a little like Douglas Adams in there as well. But oh my goodness, this book series was. I immediately after I finished it, I'm like, I want more. Is there a 7th book? When is the 7th book coming out? And I
Yeah.
usually don't do that unless there's like a cliffhanger at the end of it. But I mean, like each book is a standalone story.
Okay.
The spoilers ahead, the book series follows a the protagonist who had a kind of menial job at a company and he got promoted. Well, before that, he wanted somebody he worked with. He had an romantic interest in,
Mm-hmm.
and he was too afraid to talk to her and tell her how he felt. And they were going to a fancy dress party.
Okay.
Yes, it does take place in London predominantly. They're going to a fancy dress party, which is a costume party, um, for work. And so they ran into each other on the street and decided to kind of tag along. He was bringing his roommate. She was bringing her roommate. She like because of her shoes stepped off the curb, almost get hit by a car. He pushed her out of the way, clinically died. The Grim Reaper shows up, and the Grim Reaper's like, "Nah, this is just a near-death experience. Want to go grab a pint?" So him and the Grim Reaper go and have a drink, and he's like talking to the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper gives him his business card and basically is offering him a job.
Yeah.
So he goes, checks it out, ends up because of not feeling. He gets a promotion at work, doesn't feel comfortable with a lot of the things in the company, so he decides
Yeah.
to quit and go work for the Grim Reaper. So he's learning to be the Grim Reaper's assistant and ferry souls, but then he finds out like all the sketchiness that is going on with the company, uh, and that's just in the first book.
What?
Yeah,
How
that's
big
just
are
in the
these
first
books?
book.
How
That's They're not that long. They're like 150 pages.
Wow.
But I mean, there are so many good lines. Like, I was cackling so much. Let me see if I can find one of my favorite lines from the one of the books. Because I posted it. Do, 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 do.
The cover of those look funny.
Let's see here. I am trying to find the one that I liked so much.
Apollo, honey, why are you all up in my business?
Oh, yeah. You know, art is good when you have no clue what's going on.
That's true.
Uh, let's see here. I'm trying to find what the other one was. I can't find it. But anyways, uh, yeah, no, it's phenomenal. Great series. Highly recommend. Uh, one of the books I was a little on, but I mean, you'll have that when you have a series.
Yeah.
Like
Not
every
all
book
the
in a
books
series
are
can be
great.
perfect.
Yeah.
After that, I started on the Realms Between series by Phoenix Gray. And this is a typical like lit RPG type story, but the guy takes a job at a game design company. He signs in his contract about beta testing a game, but the
Yeah.
game it's a sequel to a game that was very like glitchy and stuff. He gets into an accident, and because of that, because he signed a contract, the company basically owns the right to his body, and that's how they beta test his game because gaming the company basically makes games for rehabilitation and for training medical professionals. So like it's a VR thing where you're going in and you're repeatedly doing heart surgery. So in this, he's in like this fantasy world because the whole purpose is to stimulate your brain to uh, if you're in a coma to helping you wake back up, and he gets goes into this game and all sorts of fun shenanigans happen.
What the
He
heck?
keeps technically dying in the game, but not really because for some reason he's not actually dying when anyone else that's played the game that's beta tested it has died in the game. They've died in real life.
So why is
But
he not
that's
dying?
that. Well, that's they don't know yet. I'm only
Okay.
like I'm only like 6 books into that series. It's a 10 book series.
Yeah, I saw that.
Uh, yeah, that's what I've been reading. I haven't really watched anything new.
Mm-mm. No, I've been listening to what is it called? It's an ID Discovery podcast, Mind of a Monster. So every series, like she takes on a like a different like serial killer type
Gotcha.
thing, and it's like a deep dive where it's interviews with real people and stuff like that. I play podcasts when I get ready, especially when my husband's home, um, because I don't want to subject him to the book I'm reading. He already listens to me like talk plots and stuff out, but I don't subject him to my book, and I don't like wearing headphones when I get ready, so I play like a podcast that I can put in the background and follow along if I don't hear a part of it. So that was like 6 seasons. The last season was the he was called the Butcher Baker, where he was that guy up in Alaska who would like hunt prostitutes. He would pick prostitutes
Yep.
up and would take them out into the woods and stuff. Um
Yep. Yeah, I remember
so
that.
yeah. So that was her last season. The one before that was Eileen Warnes. She's one of the first female serial killers. She does one on Jeffrey Dahmer, and stuff. So they're not very long. They're maybe like an hour, maybe, and there's like 6 to 8 episodes per season. So, and what I found interesting about the Butcher Baker is, and I didn't know this, there was a black female detective that started putting all the pieces together. Um, and she kept getting shut down in her department. So I found
Huh.
that kind of interesting of like if somebody would have listened to her, maybe there wouldn't have been so many people dead. Um,
You know,
so I thought
there's
that
it's
was
funny. It's funny because in a lot of like serial killer cases, you either have that,
yeah,
where people just don't listen to one person, or you have where people like the answer's right in front of their face, and the person's like buddy buddy with the cops, and the cops are just like, oh well,
yeah,
don't know what to do about this. No telling who the serial killer is.
yeah. Yeah, well, he was an outstanding member of society, and he's got this business, and there's no way he could be this. And it was like it's the same thing with Ed Kemper. Ed Kemper was friends with like the cops in the area and like the campus cops and stuff. Like,
Mm.
and they were like, "Oh, it can't be Ed," and then you find out, "Oh shit, it is Ed." Like they just couldn't believe that because he had owned this business and he had a family and all this that like he couldn't be this person, and it's like, oh, he is. So, because there was an incident where he had hired a sex worker and she had gotten away, and um, the detective kind of starts putting things together, especially after the one woman ran away and stuff. Um, so that kind of stuff always blows my mind of like, just because they're an outstanding member of society does not mean that they're perfect.
I mean, those are the most likely people to do it if you look at statistics. Like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
being
that's what I've been
degenerate,
learning.
you're less likely to
Yeah.
be, to actually
Yeah.
be doing something wrong.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, no. I was like, and there's nothing in the news worth talking about. Um
Well, there is actually. There was a funny thing that happened. I don't know what this guy was doing. I only saw the initial article. I did not read like when it happened. I did not read much more into it after that. Apparently, during for any of our listeners that are outside the states, we currently have trials going on for Donald Trump and uh, for criminal
that
trials.
dude.
There was a guy who set himself on fire outside of the courthouse. Like I don't
Yeah.
know if it was in protest or if he was like pro or anti or if it just happened
I
to
had
happen
no
there.
idea.
But I saw it and I'm just like, are you freaking kidding me? Like this dude lit himself on fire.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw that and I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. Now I kind of want to find
But
out.
yeah, that's really all that's going on. So
I
again,
know.
you know, join us next week when we talk about a mysterious cryptid
Yeah.
that maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't. Maybe I'm just saying this because I haven't decided which cryptid I'm doing an episode on yet. You'll never know.
We'll never know.
uh,
Well,
don't
now I
forget
am.
to like, rate, review, and subscribe.
Oh, sorry. Pause. The
No, you're
man,
good.
he threw leaflets imposing anti government conspiracy theories into the air before setting himself on fire.
Okay, so he did it on purpose.
So, yeah, he died Friday night.
Oh, he did actually die?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
He's
do not feel
walking
bad for
around.
laughing because, like, seriously, you catch yourself on fire, like, you had. I don't know what to say. Some
It
people are.
was so one of his signs claimed that Trump and President Biden were about to fascist coup us. Um,
Ha. So they're working together.
yeah. So, oh yeah, oh yeah. Like there's this article from New York Times, and he is very much anti-establishment. Yeah, he's been causing the man who set himself on fire was causing problems with a lot of political protests for a very long time. Going back to Mr. Clinton. So, yeah,
Huh.
sorry. I was super curious about that, so I Googled it real quick.
Oh, you're good.
But yes. Please rate, view, subscribe. Please join us on Facebook and Instagram. Or even on Fable if you can find me on Fable. We can talk about books. Hell, I can even create a book club if there's enough people where, Johnny and I pick a book every week and or every month and here we go. Um, type thing. So,
Until then, I'm Johnny, and
uh,
that's Kelsey. Wow, wow,
bye.
wow.